Here we go, Livy, Book 1, continuing chapter 9. Turbato per metum ludicro. So turbato and ludicro are starting off as ablatives. So with the games in turbation, which is confusion, per metum, through fear, per takes the accusative. Maestai parentes, we're talking here of the parents are grieving. This is an adjective, and it's got I there because it's plural. So the grieving parents, virginum, of the virgins, profugion. So the grieving parents of the virgins fled. Incusantes, present participle. Accusing, basically. Incusing becomes accusing in English. Of violating, violati. The fetus, which is a neuter word for treaty. Accusing them of violating the treaty of hospitality. So it would be a genitive. Enclitique and deum invocantes. Invocantes, like incusantes, is a present participle plural. So they were invoking the gods. We see the qui means and, invoking the gods. Quis, of who. It's a bit of a singular use here, but it's for plural gods. Ad solemne ludosque. Invoking the gods and to the solemn games is basically what it's saying. Per fas and fidem. Fas is like the law of the gods, or the opposite of nefarious. So, and through the and fidem, it just means the trust, and veniscent means they'd come. So they'd come. Deceptor means they were deceived. So they'd come to the solemn games and were deceived on the loyalty and the pretense that this was a thing for the gods. Nec raptis aut spes de se melior aut indignatio est minor. So neither did the raptus, the captured women who had been seized. Aut means we have either or. So neither did these captured women have any spes, a hope, de se, it's in the ablative, so concerning themselves, melior means better, it's a comparative, or minor meaning less, indignatio. So put that together. Neither did the captured girls have either a better hope concerning themselves or have any less indignation. I mean, here we go. Sed ipsi Romulus. So we've got apposition here of the nominative. But Romulus himself, Circum ibat, imperfect, he was going around. Circum means around, and ibat means was walking, going. Romulus himself was walking around, we've got the qui, and he was docabating. So he was teaching them, he was informing them. Patrum is of the fathers, id. So here we know what's going on. He went around saying that id this, factum, had been done by the superbia, that's the arrogance and proudness, patrum, of their fathers. Qui, who, negassent, they had denied connubium, which is marriage finitimus, with their neighbours. So illas, which is they in female, tamen, nevertheless, the adverb, they would be in matrimonio, they would be married, so they were going to have proper marriages and lawful, in societate, in with the ablative, so this would be into their alliance, omnium fortunarum, these are double genitives. They would take place in the alliance of all their fortunes, and civitatis, and they would become citizens. So they would be entitled legally in this marriage to have fortunes, basically, or money and stuff like that, and they would have the rights of a citizen. Et quo nihil, and quo, by which, nihil, nothing, cari is comparative, is more dearer, humano, dative, to humans, to a person. Generi sit is the subjunctive. Liberum means children, and fore is the future. So that they would have children in future, generi of one race, basically. Mollirent, plural, third person. So they should soften, modo. We'll have to wait to see exactly what that means. It can mean now, it's an adverb. Iras, so they should soften the anger et and quibit, by which fors, which is fate, dedicit, had given corpora. So basically what it's saying is, in Tarrant, enemos, is give their minds. So which fate has given their bodies basically way. They should soften their anger merely and give their minds to this future marriages. Saipi, often the adverb. Postmortem, another adverb for afterwards, and ex-injuries. From these injuries, in unjust things, often afterwards, gratiam autem arises, which is favourable things can happen. Eoqui, I have to see what that means. Meloribus, which is better. Usurus, this is the form of utor, the deponent verb, which takes the ablative. So often they would be better husbands, melioribus virus, in use, quod, because, ad usurus, another future going with usurus, prose, quisque, each one for himself, he might find himself in. So what this is basically saying is, they should be better. Virus can be husbands as well. They'll be better husbands because of relying on each one what was happened to them. When suum vicem means in turn. Functus is performed. Officio is the duty. So when each one in turn has performed his duty, which would be his husbandly duty to the wife, basically, the parentium, even patriaque, explere. The desiderum means your loss or your longing. So the longing for their parents and of their patria, their homeland, explete, will be filled by these husbands. And the daily dictionary word is postmortem, after a while, afterwards, etc. Back to the story. Okay, acetoband, and they added blanditiae, which is flatterings, of the virorum, of the husbands. Can also mean the husbands were caressing them. Factum purgantium. Purgantium means they were trying to clean away this factum, this deed, in the name of or by, we've got ablative, cupidi et amore, by their desires and their love. They were flattering the women. Quae, which maxime, which greatly or especially. Ad mulibre, 2 women. In genium, this is their inborn nature. Sace prece sunt, which is prayers, which greatly efficiaces, which they efficiently greatly please the character or the natures of women. Now, ad modum, basically means to the limit or but fully. Mitigati enemi raptus. So now the minds, the enemi of the raptus, of the seized women, were mitigated, you could say absolutely or fully. At, it's the strongest form of but raptarum genitive parentes. But the parents of the raptured women, tum maxime sorditia veste. Then with extremely dirty clothes, basically they're in mourning, so there's certain clothes you wear to mourn. En lacrimis, and tears, and querellus, which is complaining. Concitebant, they are exciting the civitates. This would be the states that are all around Rome, basically. Nec dome, so neither at home tantum merely or only, were these indignations continebant, were they held, basically. So it was not only at home were they indignant, but congregabandator. But they congregated under qui from everywhere, that's an adverb. Ad te tatium regem sabinorum. To te tatium, the king, genitive of the Sabines. And legations, delegations or embassies, eo, to their. Polyquad, because the maximum nomen, the greatest name, was this Tatius guy in Eos regionibus. In these regions, because Tacitus was the biggest name in that region, delegations convened, they were sent eo to him. The Caeninsians and the Crustuminians and the Antimnates, Irant, were ad quos eos inuria, to which these injuries, pars just means that to the side or the part, or in pertinabat, you can say it's pertinent to or pertaining to. So these parts were especially outraged by this as well. Lente, from the famous phrase festina lente. So slowly agere to do these things. His is these things. Visi sunt. So to these people, it seemed that agere was being done slowly. That Tacitus and the Sabines are the people, they were conducting things slowly. And ipsi inter se, and so these amongst themselves, three populi. So these three people, which are written here, communitas, the adverb for communally or together. Parent, param, means prepared. So amongst themselves, these three people, they communally prepared for bellum, which is war. Ne crustumini quidem. So ne quidem means not even the crustuminians and the Antemnates. Pro ardore Iroquois. So these two people, on behalf of their ardor, which is their urgency, and ira is the anger, were satis for the Carnamenians. So not even the ardor and the anger of the Crustaminis were satisfactorily enough for the Carnamenians. Se impigri movem. And they moved reflectively themselves impigri, which is lazily, basically, it seemed. They're acting slowly and lazily. Ita, so thus per se, through themselves, by themselves, ipsum in the name of the Caninians, so in their own name or on their own accord, in agrum Romanorum, into the fields of the Romans, facet, they made an impetus, an attack. Sed effusi vastantibus. So while they were effuse, which is like spread out or even routed sometimes, and they were engaged in devastations, vastantibus, which is just stealing stuff, basically. Fit means it happened. Obvious, they were met. Obvious means met. Cum exercito, cum the ablative, with the army. So here we go, Romulus is our nominative. So Romulus met them, obvious, with his army, and the qui, in a light contest, the Levi Curtamine, and in a light contest, Docet. He taught them. Varnam, it was empty. Iram. Varnam and Iram are in apposition, they're both accusatives. So he taught them that anger, sh, was Varnam, empty, sine viribus, without strength. Okay, so the fight's on. The exercitum fundit. So the army in the accusative was routed and fugat and fled. And fusum persecutor. So this would be Romulus. He's the one who routed the army and made them fled, and he persecuted them. He followed them when they were routed. Regem in prolio. The king in battle obtruncated. It means he cut him down and he despoiled him. He spoilated him, took the spoils from him. Duce hostium occiso. So with the Duke, occiso, cut down, hostium of the enemy, the Urbam, which is the city, primo impeto. We'll take that as an ablative. In its first impetus, in its first attack, capit. He captured the city. Inde. So then, exercito victore reducto. That's ablative absolute. So then, he led back his army. He reducted his army, victore, his victorious army. Ipsi himself, cum factus vir magnificus. Tum factorum ostentator hord minor. More hord minor means not less. So with factus, his deeds, hord minor, not less, vir magnificent, a great man. Tum then ostentor, he showed factorum, showed that he was not less in a factorum of deeds. The spolia ducus, the spoils of the leader, hostium, enemy of the enemy, caeso, of the cut down, the spoils of the cut down enemy leader, suspensa, was hung. It's a female version of hung. Fabricato ad id apti furculo. Fabricato means it was fabricated or made. A furculo is like a frame or a dish sometimes, but probably on a made frame added to this, which was aptly done for carrying this suspended spoils of the cut down leader. Gerens, present participle, he carried it in capitilium into the capital and ascended it. He basically hung up this sustained fabricated dish or frame with the spoils on it. Ibiqui means, and there, the adverb, ea, these things, cum, when, ad quercum, when to an oak, pastoribus sacrum, sacred to the pastors, the shepherds, that's a dative, deposited. So, and when, cum, he had deposited ibi there, to the oak tree sacred to the shepherds, simul at the same time, with his dono, which is a gift, designavit templo Jovis fines. He designated the fines, which is the land or the territory, with his gift to the temple of Jove, which is the temple of Jupiter, and cognomen, which is the last name. Added it, he added Dio, God. So he added the name God to his own name. And to finish it up, actually, so Jupiter Feretrius, Inquidi said, Hake, these things, Tibi to you, Victor Romulus Rex. So we've got three nominatives. So basically he's talking about himself. I think so. Romulus the victor, the king. Regi armour, these royal arms, Pharaoh, I bear, or I'm carrying these regi arms, these royal arms, templum qui, and the temple, his regionimus, in these regions, so it's ablative plural, and the temple in these regions, which modo, which now, or which limits, enemo in my mind, metatus sum, I've measured out, dedico, I dedicate. So this is what he's doing, he's dedicating this temple in these regions which is already measured out in his mind. Asedem, the seat, optimus spoils, of the best spoils, quae, which, regibus, ducibus qui, hostium, casus, so which to the kings and leaders of the enemy's cases cut down, me auctore, with under my authorship or by my authority, sequentes posteries, those in the posteries means the offspring in the future, would be following Tarrant. They should bear this these offerings here.